streaming, it'll take a minute to connect, so. Then we'll start our meeting.
Brad's here, that's all that
How do
matters.
you turn these on?
The red dot should be on already.
Welcome back, Brad.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Where's he, Joe, where's RJ's restroom? I tried to text him. I said he's
Careful,
resting
Larry, it's
somewhere.
primed.
I don't know.
It's
Probably
picking me
I
up
thought
back here.
basketball's done. He's
No,
still
girls
there.
basketball.
Oh, he rests
Junior
in-
high.
oh, he rests-
Junior high girls game at Covington. I think he's up there tonight.
All right, we are live, peeps.
All right. Call to order for Vermillion County Area Plan, regular session, March 12th. Everybody rise for the pledge of flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Larry Langley,
Yep.
Bill Cox.
Here.
Ron Mack, Brandon Ruth,
Present.
Andy Kenizer,
Here.
Bob Alexander, Brian Stevens, Joe Ellis.
Present.
And we do have a quorum. Looking over the minutes for last meeting. Take a look at that. If anybody's got any questions or changes that need to be made. If not, we'll pass.
Well, there's not two Larry Langleys, is there?
Ha!
Well, you know, there could be.
Yeah, there probably should be, but we'll take one of them out.
Take one of those guys. Okay. I didn't know if you were trying to stack the ballot
No.
box or
Yeah.
what.
No, that's my fault. That's my fault, absolutely, because I ordered people by alphabetical order and I forgot to bounce Larry there.
Look at you, okay.
Sorry. At least I knew what I did.
Yeah.
But good catch. Thank you, Phil.
No, Phil gets you, trust me.
I'd move to pass the minutes as presented and corrected for the February 12th meeting.
Motion by Joe,
Seconded.
second by Brandon, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We're moving on to old business, please. Violations.
All right, Lauren, yeah, he's still moving stuff around, but we do have countywide cleanup coming up in April, 10th and 11th.
Okay.
Kevin Campbell and St. Bernice, I'm proud to announce he has a dumpster at his property, and he's gonna fill it up, he promises. And we still have the warrant out for Jade Warren's arrest, because he still has done nothing to his property.
Okay.
And I've had some other ones come in, which I'm just dealing with them, and they're getting addressed without having to go before the judge.
How long has that warrant been out?
2 months?
Probably. Since I've
I
been
think
here.
it expires after 6 months, you have to renew it.
Oh, really? Okay. Any other old business here under any new ones? I guess now.
Well, we've got a couple of new ones, but I'm working with the property owners to get them cleaned up, and they've all been receptive.
Oh, good deal, good deal. Okay, moving on to rules of procedure. Do we want to table that till Bob could be here and everybody?
No.
We don't? Okay.
I mean, he did have a chance to respond via email,
Yes.
so.
Yep,
I sent these out to you guys.
yep, yep,
You
yep.
had time to
Bob's seen
review.
it. Did he get back with you?
I tried to give you a week.
And I just called him because I forgot about his replacement. He didn't say anything on the phone to me either
Okay.
about it.
Well, nope, we're good, we're good.
But we did add the extra, like articles, conduct of town hall meetings 10, town hall meetings is 9. Hold on. 7 is about public hearings, so we think we have it broken down where, it's all spelled out.
Hey, I did have a question or discussion on Article 5 under official action on
Okay,
page 3. Over there, down there on section 4.
okay,
Okay, the next to last sentence, it says, a member shall declare his or her known conflict of interest before discussion begins. The commission shall enter into its records the fact that the member has such a disqualification. So I'm going back to the American Citizen Planner course that we took a few years ago. Maybe some of us twice, but anyway. And I was thinking that there was a suggestion that if a member does have a known conflict of interest, that of course they recuse themselves and can't vote. But even in addition to that, it seemed to me like they were even supposed to leave the room and not even participate in the discussion or something like that. Brad is shaking. He said yes.
Yeah, court cases do not like the person having even been in the room. Like, it looks bad. Because they may be in the back of the room going, don't.
Yeah, or making
Just
faces or trying to intimidate somebody somehow.
if you get sued for that, for that person having influence, they're in the room,
Well,
likely lose that one.
So could we do something?
we've always made him sit out in the audience. Now, we've had a couple situations where the person that was on the board, no, I wouldn't say had a conflict, but he had a vested interest in what was taking place. So he sat out there, yeah, he had his thumbs up or down or went like this. He got up and spoke and was against it and told the board that he thought they should vote against what was going on.
So
Now,
but-
how do you handle something like that? I mean,
Well, according to Brad, they should not be in the
They should
room.
not be in the room.
So could we?
but even if they got a vested
Well,
interest,
that's the conflict of interest.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
If they are the petitioner,
Well, this guy wasn't a petitioner, he was a neighbor, didn't like what was going on.
Well, okay, so, I mean, there needs to be maybe more language, because obviously, like, something came my way that I was petitioning, you wouldn't want to have to leave the room, it's your business, right?
You're
So-
right, that's what I'm saying, this guy, we never had made anybody leave the room before, we just let them sit out there. 9 out of 10 of them don't say nothing, but this one incident, when it took place, and I can't even remember exactly what it was for, but he was against what his neighbor was wanting to do. And I don't know if it was putting in a mobile home or, I can't remember now, but anyway, yeah. And he got up and spoke why he was against it.
it seems harsh, but it's one of those things that a public figure generally should remove themselves. So their wife or their lawyer should be the ones that they're representing.
They should, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of them.
So with this, it's just referring to our membership of our commission, so it says a member shall declare his or her known conflict of interest before the decision or discussion begins. And do we just need to put like a comma and shall leave the room? I mean, is that what you're saying? Is it correct, Brad?
And until the discussion is over?
Mm-hmm.
That is honestly how most communities, you actually leave the room. You have no influence at all.
Well,
Yeah, it
you
would
you could
only
amend it to
be,
say, a member shall declare his or her known conflict of interest and excuse themselves for the duration of the discussion.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
You write that down real quick there, Brad. Brandon. Okay.
And does that imply leaving the room?
Say that again, what you said?
Well, and excuse themselves, I assume that.
I mean, theoretically, you could suspend rules and allow something different for the unanimous vote, but
I think excuse yourself has an implied sense of leave the room sounds like you're talking to a 5-year-old. So I think that excuse yourself would be sufficient.
It's usually, yeah.
A member shall declare his or her known conflict of interest and excuse themselves, no grammar Nazi. Excuse him or herself from the duration of the discussion. Shall excuse him or... You have to repeat the him or herself. Excuse him or herself from the duration of the discussion, I think would be fine. Again, if you send it back, I guess we're making that correction now. We don't want to send this back out.
No, but we can approve it as corrected.
Okay.
I'm going there.
so what I see is that as soon as that line item comes up on the agenda, that person says, I need to excuse myself, hold. They don't stay for the hearing, deliberation.
The vote or anything, yeah. And as soon as that's over, he's allowed to come back up and sit on the board, yeah.
Somebody goes and grabs them.
Yeah, as soon as A's done, we go to B, and he comes back up. Okay, yeah, that's definitely,
I would move the APC pass this. Rules of procedure as Penny is presented tonight with the single addition of a member shall recuse themselves with a conflict added to Article 5, Section 4.
I'll just add one other thing, which is maybe getting to what Larry was just talking about, but conflict of interest doesn't mean, there is a court case where a neighboring, I think it went to the Indiana Supreme Court, where a neighboring property to whatever was being heard that night, one of the Planning Commission's wives had ownership, a partial ownership in that property. And came out of Boone County, Lebanon. Anyways, the courts ruled unanimously that the Planning Commission member did not have a conflict just because of the neighboring property was partially owned by his wife. I mean, it's by all accounts, the attorneys were really happy with that decision, because as a neighbor, that doesn't mean you're not going to financially gain. That's usually the triggers. If this gets approved, I will financially gain, or if this gets disapproved, I will financially. That's usually the trigger. So if you're just in opposition to something, you should be able to still present your opposition. You're not financially gaining. So I think that in your case that you were talking about is that Planning Commission member should be able to speak. Maybe they don't vote for optics purposes, but they should be able to do that.
right. Well, I remember
If they
that.
are the petitioner and they are going to make money or gain from it, cannot be.
Now, he was not the petitioner, neither was his wife, obviously, and he wasn't gonna make anything off of it. He just, I believe it was a mobile home, and he didn't want that mobile home right next to him. But, man, that's been so many years ago, I can't remember.
They could vote. They could definitely stand at the podium and say, they're not financially gaining.
Well, I mean, you could make the argument that they're financially gaining because it would keep the value of their home up because it didn't have a mobile home right next door to it, maybe.
They're fighting against the devaluation of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a theoretical.
Hmm.
I mean, would there really be a difference from there being they may not like it, but would it really devalue it? A lot of people say that, but it rarely pans out in the data.
I guess it depends on if you're surrounded on all sides or something. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It adds up.
I second Joe's motion. We'll finally put the rules of procedure to bed.
I would love that.
Okay, I'm just making sure I agree with everything. Okay. All right. Anybody else got any questions on that? Yeah. Okay, need a motion, don't we?
So we already did. Joe first, Brandon second.
Oh, okay. Hey, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I guess I didn't hear either one of you. Yeah, sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's all right. Okay,
I gave Bob everything he wanted, so.
that's good. All right, temporary structures. Now, what was,
So Dana Brown from the Health Department is here to answer any questions on septics and what
oh,
she's
okay, that's
learned,
what you're
because
talking
this is a learning, we're all learning about temporary structures.
yes.
Brad from Ground Rules Inc. is also here to help answer any questions, and we're ready to roll.
Okay, yes, let's hear it. Any questions?
Who do you want to go first, or?
Dana's just here to answer questions,
Well,
correct?
I have some information that I
Well,
can
then you
share.
come up and share, Dana.
Yes, please come up here. And then I'll throw some questions at you.
Okay, perfect. So basically, I'm gonna run down the flow chart of what decisions have to be made for, this is all for on-site septic, on-site sewer, usage for these temporary structures. So if sewer is available, so if they're within a city limit where there is sewer available, they have to hook up. You can't put a septic system or a holding tank in there if there is sewer available. So that's discussion that has to happen with that town. If there are 10 or more sites, that falls into the definition of a campground under the Indiana state rule. So there is a whole group of rules that come into play with that. It dictates the sewage. It dictates some of the water specifications and electrical specifications and the ground and things like that. So that's for 10 or more. So if we have 9 sites or less on a piece of property, that's where I come into play with all of that. Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So we have a maximum of 10, so we actually have an overlap in our potential amendment. So we should say a maximum or no greater than 9 by that, or is what we want in a quarter.
You see what?
Less than 10.
Maximum
Yep.
density, no more than 4 recreational vehicles per quarter acre with an absolute maximum of 10 recreational vehicles. But we don't want to go to 10 because that would put us into that different league of.
So then we need to say not, it's not 9.
Brad's shaking his head though.
Well,
Brad.
it's whatever you want, so if,
They can
If
do
they
it as a
do it-
campground with 10,
Yeah,
but
yeah, if they
there are
do
just
it-
rules that has to be followed.
if you allow them to go to 15, let's say, just theoretical, anything 10 to 15, they would have to have an on-site system just for those sites. Because now they're in the threshold of state health department regulation.
Mhm.
But if they have 9 or less, then they don't have to abide by that.
We would probably need to let them, if we had 10 or more, let them know that there's more requirements. So that they,
And Dana has, because we have,
but I
Yes.
mean, put it in here.
Two separate ordinances, and it's just kind of like, do you fall into just the planning commission's jurisdiction, or is it planning jurisdiction and health department jurisdiction? And that's where 10 or above falls, where they have to do both.
10 kicks them into campground.
Yes.
It meets the definition of a campground, which is not just the on-site sewage piece, but has other components that they have to comply with, because there is an actual campground rule.
In
through
defense
the
of the
Department
health
of
department, you may want to say in this ordinance that 8 or more, you want them to follow the health department's regulation. And you can kind of, their threshold is 10, but you could say, you like what they're asking for, we'd rather that number be 8.
but even if they only do
Take more
2,
than
they
more
still have to
restrictive.
follow your rules.
Right, there's separate commercial on-site sewage rules that apply. This is, the campground rule itself only applies at 10 or more.
Right.
Yes, so I definitely move that we cap it at 9 for that density section, so we don't cross into that territory. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine, and maybe you want to make that decision after I tell you the next piece.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Go ahead.
It may or may not change your decision, you want to listen to it. So at 9 or less, we're basically, you have the residential rule and you have a commercial rule. I can write at the local level, through the residential rule, a permit for 2 dwellings on one piece of property. So if someone was going to have 2 campsites on one piece of property, they could put a residential system in that a contractor could design. I could give the minimum specs for, to write the permit, that's it. If there are more than 2 together, they have to go through commercial review. So that has to go through the state. Now, the caveat to that is, it basically makes no sense to put 2 and go through a residential permitting, because you could put all 9 on one system that's the same size as a cluster, but you have to go through commercial review.
Repeat that, sorry. Just
It's recorded.
You could do a cluster system of 9 on basically the same size as what I could do 2 on. I can do 2 on a residential permit, while the commercial side can do, most likely, 9 on the same size system.
So, I'm sorry, so the permits, you can give 2 permits, or what are we talking in particular about? The RV structures themselves, the sewer system for the structure? Like, what's the exact permit that you
I
can give?
permit the septic system.
Okay, so we're talking about septic system per RV, you can give 2,
You could have 2 sites on one system.
okay.
I can write
But
that.
one system is like a private property or a residential?
One system would be either a holding tank or a septic tank and leach field.
Okay.
Yes, for clarification.
Mhm.
So if there's a primary residence already,
You cannot.
You can
just
do one.
One more.
Okay.
Dana, do we know how many of these sites we have in the county now that would fall under this?
I have probably had 5 or 6 different people call me and inquire.
But how many do we have existing?
Existing, I have no idea.
Is this
If
amendment
there's any
retroactive?
existing.
What's the Cuga Town Park do?
Well,
That's in city limits,
That's
out
in-
of our
yeah.
jurisdiction.
Yeah, I understand.
As far as what's a campground, we only have Thousand Trails, which is a private campground, and the Cayuga Park. That's all the,
Oh, that's
the
it.
only campgrounds. we
Okay,
have.
that's what I was after.
So, we have one gentleman near the building site that's looking at doing this.
Yes, I've only had one actual application
Is his
submitted.
property in 2 separate parcels?
I don't think so.
Does the health department look at properties side by side owned by the spot, or do they look at?
If they had separate parcel numbers, they would be,
Yeah, that's
Separate.
where we're getting in the weeds, and
Gray
I'm
area.
not sure what the definition is gonna end up. Because what the definition in the rule says is 2 dwellings on a piece of property. That's what it says. So is a piece of property defined as a parcel? Or, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. And that may be something that we have to figure out.
okay, since you're giving out free information, I'm gonna start asking. I got a mobile home pad that was used
back in the 70s.
35, 40 years ago. Septic tank is still there, leach field's still there, well's still there. I want to put 2, I think, fifth wheel campers on there. Can I do that?
In theory, yes, you can.
But at the same time, there used to be 2 parcels. There's a brick home right beside it. But since that time, I think we consolidated it all together as one parcel. We bought it as 2 parcels years and years ago, and it's all one money now. And that brick home has its own septic tank and well and everything,
Okay.
and has for his, and of course somebody lives in that house. But how do I do this? I mean,
So for a system that's that old,
yeah,
so the first step would have to be, we would do a record search and see if we can find out what is actually in the ground,
okay, that should be easy enough.
which may be easy.
Well, it went through the health department when they did it.
I know that, but a lot of those old records have a half a piece of paper in there that says 1,000 feet or 1,000 gallon tank and 150 feet of trench. That's all it says.
Okay.
So that doesn't really tell me where it's at, what it looks like, anything.
Right,
So we have varying degrees of what's in those files.
okay,
So that's the first step, is I would look for that. The second step is, whether we can find that or not, you have to be able to prove that it's, first of all, the right size to work with what you're planning to put in there. So a lot of the old systems, especially put in the 70s, they were sized for what was appropriate then, but the rules have changed. So if
Okay.
it doesn't meet current standards, you can't use it.
It was a 14 by 70 mobile home that sit there.
So he would have to have someone come out and look.
So yes, the third
Some-
step is you have to have an inspector, a
Yeah.
installer come out, inspect it, make sure the integrity of the tank is still good, make
Yeah.
sure you still, you know, you don't
How
have
do
any.
you do something like that? You have to dig it up or?
No, you don't have to dig it up, but they can basically put a camera down inside the tank. They have to pump the tank, make sure that it's empty, and then look and make sure that it doesn't have any cracks in it.
Well, if you don't know where the tank is.
Well, there's a problem.
Get
There- yeah,
ground
exactly.
penetrating radar,
I am,
a toy.
So-
I guess
We
I
don't
can find it if I
require
step
that,
on it.
but-
So Dana, in this case, there's a house on this parcel with its own septic system.
Right,
There's this unused septic system sitting there.
right.
How many of these trailers could he potentially put there?
2.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do, yeah.
As long as we're meeting the, and.
Assuming
this-
it's
this
good.
Yeah,
property,
yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
assuming that it works, and yes, that
Mhm.
we determine that it works. The other problem is, a lot of contractors don't wanna come out there and they won't put it in writing that, yeah, this thing's gonna work for you.
Right,
So, you know, if we can't get that, we can't use it.
okay. Well, that answers my question. I didn't even know who,
So he could put 2 on that unused one. He could also put 1 on the house septic system potentially, possibly.
He's already got a structure on there.
Wait a minute, does Larry need to recuse himself?
I'm
from
not,
this?
just, these are theoretical.
Well, it starts getting into the question of how are you gonna zone it, and what do we consider a property?
Kind of why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
What are we?
I don't have a clear definition from my rules on what that means.
I mean, depending on how you want to go with this, you could state that any property or any lot or lots used in combination. So there truly is a house and another lot next to it, but if the shed's on one of the properties and the fence goes around both properties, and it looks like one property when you look at it, even though there's maybe technically a legal parcel separating the two, property line separating the two. To me, that's one property. Whether it's legally 2 taxable entities, one property. So we could write it either way. We could write it so it's each individual taxable property, or you could write it so that it's one lot is whatever's used. You add that clarity to this. It sounds like that might help the department, because you're only going to consider the properties used in combination. Their rules are, it sounds like vague or not really.
It just says property.
Yeah, so we could help them out by clarifying that.
yeah.
Do you have more, Dan?
I think basically that is the bottom line, pretty much, is that we're gonna try to make everybody go through commercial review. You know, if you're doing more than 2, because that's the way it has to be. It has to go through commercial review, and then they can put a much more efficient system in. The other piece of this is, because these are temporary, they have to be abandoned appropriately when we're done with them. So leach field can be left alone, but a holding tank or a septic tank that is no longer in use should be, the lid should be collapsed and filled with flowable dirt and left covered. And also, if we do holding tanks, and holding tanks are an option as a system. The first application that we had go through, they were looking at just doing holding tanks. Came back, they give them a minimum, is all they do from the state, is give them a minimum size for holding tanks, and it's a 3-day capacity. Worst case scenario, 3-day capacity. Well, you don't want that. You know, obviously you're going to put in a bigger tank than that, but they do have to have audible and visible alarms for any holding tanks that are put in place too. So if those are abandoned, all that electrical equipment has to be removed also.
Holding tanks are an option, but they have a 3-day limit, basically?
3-day minimum.
Minimum, okay, sorry, I
Yes.
misunderstood.
You're saying that when it's all said and done, you want the septic tank itself to be collapsed or tore out?
if they are temporary, if these are gonna be considered temporary structures, we will actually put an operating permit in place saying that at the end of the term, at the end of this temporary use, that those will be taken out of service and collapsed.
Even though it's already been there for 40 years.
No.
No, that's a different situation.
Oh, okay.
That's, yeah. I think
Those
the
are existing systems that are gonna be reused.
Yeah.
That's not the same rules apply.
Right, that's 18 about, the host site should be restored to its pre-existing state. So obviously, if your pre-existing state was already have a septic.
Yeah, okay.
Can we help the health department again here and say that if holding tank only is 7 day, or a 3 day? 3 days seems like a lot of trucks visiting, pumping.
And
Yeah.
really, it makes no sense to put a holding tank in
Yeah.
when you can, because it's gonna cost $400 to $500 every time they pump.
Right.
That you can, it's gonna pay for itself to put a leach field in, as long as there's space. It's gonna pay for itself to put a leach field in very quickly.
Would you recommend a higher, are gonna do a holding tank? Your storage?
Oh, absolutely.
And what would that number?
It would depend on, they can be up to 10,000 gallons. I mean, that's the max that we can go to is a 10,000 gallon tank. Wouldn't necessarily recommend we go that big, but
Okay.
they're just gonna have to figure out how often they wanna have it pumped.
My belief is that a lot of the regulations at the state are negotiated, not necessarily best practice. You're kind of suggesting that is that somebody pick 3.
It's a minimum. We only give minimum specifications. That's how
Right.
septic systems are designed by, that's what we provide.
Yeah.
You have an engineer who has to provide you with a system that will work for you.
Right.
And hopefully your engineer can give you a capacity that's gonna be feasible.
Yeah.
But we provide minimums.
My point is that I would love to see the health department's minimums required to be 7 days, bigger than 3.
Yeah, that's how the rules are
We
written.
could possibly raise that bar and help them out and just have a local rule.
I'm not sure that you can. I don't think you can become more restrictive than the state's rule.
I hear that from time to time, but it's on the regulations. Sometimes that you can't, and they want you to, and there's other times when they don't want you. There's precedent for that.
I mean, I guess the other discussion is how far in the weeds do we want to get with the health department as far as our ordinance? Do we want to actually start specifying things that might be more restrictive than the health department versus deferring to them? I mean, I think the deference to the health department is a helpful clause versus specificity.
Well, and Dana is working with individuals from the state
Oh, absolutely.
on this. Because we've talked many times about how we can both move forward with this. And I think we stay in this area and she stays in her septic area.
That's essentially what I was gonna say. Is I agree. We don't wanna tromp on each other's rules and regulations, but we do wanna make them work together.
That's why I'm here.
So we appreciate that.
I mean, is there anything that you want us or would like us to add to this that would make your life easier, would make things more clear for what we do going forward?
I think the only piece that is a little ambiguous from my side is that what's the definition of property? How are we going to allow, if there is a house already on the property, do we only allow one? Do we allow separation of parcels and then multiple? I don't have an answer for that.
What section of this?
But theoretically, somebody, if they had 2 or 3 small parcels near each other, they could do 999 without the rules. But if you have a rule that says lots of combination, same ownership. Parcels. It just depends on how you want to play out. Now, you could ask for relief from that rule. Go to
Sure.
PCA and say, I want my property to not be take that case, but what do you want as the case?
I mean, the fellow has separate properties that are contiguous properties that he wants to utilize, and they all meet, you know, over the directives that we set out. I don't really see why we shouldn't allow it. I mean, is there some?
Yeah,
We I don't, unless we're just you know, are we disenfranchising other people because this guy happened to have a better setup that's gonna, you know, abide by the rules? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but what section of B does that property definition pertain to?
That is in the septic rule.
Specifically there.
You're not talking about ours, are
No,
you?
no.
This is
Oh.
Not,
Oh, you're
not
on
here,
your
it's in
own.
the, it's in the,
Well, okay, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Do we specify property or anything like that within our potential amendment?
We do not have a draft so far.
Okay.
I think we added,
Yes.
go through the process, we added, they gotta go for BZA if they wanna make it a larger area, because they got attached parcels.
So,
Dana, just out of curiosity, if somebody does go to tribe above 2, it's
Mhm.
and it becomes RV.
Mhm.
What's that put up to?
I am not familiar with that. For the on-site sewage itself, it'll still go through commercial review and still be the same commercial review. But there are other requirements of a campground that have to do with their electrical hookups and their water hookups. There's some things about public restrooms and things like that that can be waived if we consider it a private park. But I can't speak to what that rule says specifically.
And that's what, not so much that they're dodging the zoning ordinance, if they go 999 on their parcel. Getting the health department. Something that's worthwhile to.
Best case scenario, I would have one campground that had 200 sites, and we have a sewage treatment plant or whatever to do this, and we.
that's what I said, I'm looking at you.
Yes, absolutely. That's the best case scenario.
We got a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
But you don't spread the love out to all the people of the county with that. That's gonna end up in somebody's pocket.
So,
You snooze, you lose.
let's say I own 10
It's gonna
acres.
sound like we did something behind the
My
scenes.
house is on, you know, it's whatever coverage there a little bit. And I wanna take those acres and put 8 RV plat out there, and I'm gonna do whatever she tells me to do when I go see the health department, but it's all on one parcel. Cause that's where,
Right, is it parcel property, or is it, can we divide that up into 8 parcels and have that be? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, if they're creating new parcels, that's a subdivision.
right, that's a whole nother ballgame.
They're creating lots of
Okay.
that they would have to have more. Yeah, 10 acres. So we're okay, I think. Not. You know, like.
I have an individual who's called in who has 3 acres, who's got a house on the property, and he's wanting to put in camper pads out there on a separate septic system than what he currently has for his house.
Okay.
Which, at the end of it, when we get down here to number 18, when the whole process is over, that will be taken out or filled in, or the septic station will. But since it's all on one, I'm still going back, since it's all on one parcel, we do allow it.
That's the way this is drafted.
I
As
just-
long as they meet the health department's rules, they can have 8. And designed for a very 2-3 year period of time. This was all.
But he'd have to go through a commercial review with the state.
Yep. I think if you, in my opinion,
They all should.
they all should go through commercial review.
Is there a lot more length of time to a commercial review versus a residential with the state? You know?
Probably.
Additional costs, I presume.
I
Wow.
believe there is a cost for them to do their permit process is, I think, $200. It's not a huge cost.
Right, and for a local, it's 75,
Yes.
and they have to do a soil test, which is 400, so. we have to do the soil
You
test
have to
for
do
the
it
other
either
one.
way. You have to do that either way.
Nice try, Nate.
Commercial also has to have drawings by a registered engineer or architect.
That'll
I
throw
know
a
that-
couple,
yeah,
that'll
so
throw a
I know
couple of
that's a
dollars
cost.
on there.
I know that's a cost too.
Engineers don't sign off on it.
Any other questions for Dana this time? Don't run off then.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
We may be back. All right, Brad.
All right, that was great information.
Yes, it was.
So, just to be clear, we're only suggesting these be permitted in A1, A2, RR, I1, and I2, so it's not every zoning district. Somebody would have to get rezoned to be able to qualify for this. And it's really the only path is either being in one of these districts or getting a rezoning to one of these districts, which, again, that's a pretty big hurdle for somebody to do just for this temporary thing. So the idea of the RV park is to be something that is temporary. I think we built in quite a few nuances to it, though, that speak to the qualifications and disqualifications. Brandon mentioned the maximum density, dropping that to 9, that makes sense. Setbacks and location, separation, the types of RVs, minimum RV amenities. There's a lot of people that'll pull just a box trailer in the back, and they're fine with sleeping in a sleeping bag and walking into the woods to do their business. We're trying to say that you do have to have cooking facilities. You do have to have a restroom facility that's either meets a certain standard or was built with that trailer. So some people do their own, and that's okay. I'm not opposed to that, just as long as they do it correctly. So some people will say, hey, I've got a toilet, and it's really just a seat and a bag. That's not a toilet. So again, what people think is okay for them, it's not really the standard that we're looking for here. Site improvements.
Yeah, portable toilet.
Looking.
What about portable
Yeah.
outhouses?
What's that?
Portable outhouses.
Right.
Porta potties.
Porta potties, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go that direction, that's fine. But the concept here is that they are kind of micro RV parks,
So,
and that it's not just somebody setting up a tent. But you could just say that you don't have to have a kitchen or anything and just let people be there if you want to. But I think that just invites some problems.
and they're still gonna have to shower.
Yeah, I
and
would
wash
think
your
so,
dishes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
So you've got your drain
I hope
water and
so.
your,
Yeah, I would
your
hope
black
so,
water,
yeah.
so.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like porta pots do, heavy winds come, they tip
Oh, yeah.
over,
Yeah.
they can be a mess, they can be a smell, there's all kinds of things that can be associated with that, flies.
I just thought about that. I thought about outhouses. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh, no.
So, I mean, and again, this is a draft, this is the proposal, it's not necessarily perfect. If you want to find flaws in it and make edits, that's fine. Just giving you the reasons for some of the stuff. Site improvements, just having something, we say paved, I doubt anyone's gonna pave it, but we do say gravelled surface, getting to each one of the sites. If it's year round, I mean, we know we get soggy ground and it's just gonna become a mud lot and people are driving across lawns. Water and sewer, potable water and sewer needs to be available. Again, some people are live rougher lives than I do, and they'll just, you know, go to the stream and get some water, or they'll go to the Walmart and get gallons of water, and that's their potable water. I mean, ideally, it's more of a system that's able to serve those units for a 3-year period of time. You know, if we're looking at a week-long construction cycle, or even a month, you could probably be a little more generous with that. But for a 3-year construction cycle, in all likelihood,
Yeah.
all of the jugs of water that would have to be brought in there doesn't seem like a sustainable or appropriate type of system. Sewage management, we're deferring to the health department. Electricity needs to be supplied. Trash management, same thing. Dumpster, something there to contain waste. Quiet hours. It's a residential area. I mean, that's the idea. You want everybody that has a site there to be able to enjoy their evenings, be able to sleep when they want to sleep, and not have it be a party scene through the night. I know in Texas there's lots and lots and lots of these in the oil fields area, and they do have problems with that, where they just become party scenes, and if they're close to residential, it's a problem. If it's not, it's not a problem. So it's just kind of whether you want to impose that or not. Most regulations in here are likely going to be enforced on a reported basis, not a, you know, we're not expecting Penny to go out and drive every one of these sites every month and check on them. Mm-hmm. But if somebody's saying, you know, there's trash blowing across my field, and there's trash getting in my yard from the neighbor's, you know, RV park, you could go out there and say, hey, you don't have a dumpster or whatever, you're in violation. Same thing with the quiet hours. If somebody's reporting problems, they would be investigated and cited. But special exception approval and expiration, we are suggesting that these be special exceptions so that they do go to the BZA for approval, and the BZA. So that the
neighbors know what's going on.
Right, and so the other nice thing about that is that the BZA can impose conditions on the approval. So if they do have a neighbor that's really close, is they could maybe say, move your sites 100 feet this direction so there's more of a buffer, and you know, they can negotiate things like that. And so they can possibly mitigate that, or they could just say this is really not a good site. I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but this is not a great site for one of these small RV parks. Renewal. You know, we're asking for an annual renewal. Again, if they're in good standing, they'll get it. If they're not in good standing, they haven't been a good neighbor, the BZA could just revoke that permission, and they're going to have to move them all out. It's just a good checks and balance in the case that they may go wrong. Again, if they're following the rules here, they're 99.9% chance they're going to get approved. Mm-hmm. Just can't imagine that they wouldn't if they're in good standing. The criteria for renewal, we spell that out, that they haven't had, you know, a series of violations. So the host site has not been cited for more than one violation over the course of the last 6 months, things like that. So it's really the track record. So the nice thing about that is that I know you guys struggle sometimes with getting enforcement actions to stick. This is one that, you know, hey, if you're in violation, you can't just flout the county and say, fine, I'll pay the fine or whatever. You're going to have your permit revoked by the BZA come renewal time. So there goes your cash cow. So, you know, for that reasons, we hope that they're gonna take it seriously and try to avoid violations at any cost. And then the last thing is the cessation of the temporary use. You know, the owner can reuse those gravel driveways or whatever. They can maybe put a barn back there after the RVs are moved out and use that. We're not asking them to take out the driveways. But if it's something that's an eyesore and they're not going to use it, then ideally they're going to scoop the gravel out and haul it away, and whatever site features that they've added, and just basically bring it back to the original look of the land. So I don't want you to be real sticklers for that, because if they invested in a driveway and in their heads are like, hey, I'm gonna use that driveway after I wrap this up and put a barn back there, great, that's a perfect co-use of adaptive reuse of that land. So I didn't want to write it so that they have to remove everything just to add it back for some other development they have in the future. Any questions about that?
Is there any application fee for?
So that's, you can recommend one to the commissioners, that's what
They
is.
adopted one at the
Okay, perfect.
March.
I always look at fees as a legislative action.
75.
It's not the job of a planning commission to decide how much a fee should be. So, sounds like that's taken care of.
So that's
$75
$75 one-time fee
per camper.
per camper.
Yeah.
But it's also an application fee for the BZA
Yes.
every year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the major thing that jumps out to me is that on number 4 under B, it changes to 9 instead of the 10.
Yeah.
And Brad and I have worked on this for a while and kicked it back and forth. What do you guys think?
So just quick, maybe aside, but like Dana was saying, if it goes above 9, then it becomes a campground.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have, I don't think, anything in the UDO defining campground.
We do.
Well, defining, but not like outlining like this. I think it's in
Oh,
the,
correct.
That's what I was wondering.
it's in the definitions. So what happens if someone's like, hey, I've got this giant expanse, I'd like to take 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they would have to qualify, they would, first of all, have to be in a district that permits campgrounds, which I think it's Parks and Recreation District is the only district that allows campgrounds. I could be wrong about that, just recalling from memory. I think 1,000 Trails, on the zoning map, that was Parks and Recreation. And then, of course, the fairgrounds is not in your jurisdiction, so that's not there. So, but I think it's Parks and Recreation is the only district, so they could not apply for a campground.
Conservation too. Apparently.
Conservation.
Well, it says campground primitive.
Okay.
So you have to wear loincloths when you go to that one.
Yes.
So Parks and Recreation District
We'll have to read
is only has existing park in it or not?
That's the only, so an individual could rezone their property to Parks and Recreation and then apply for a larger scale campground.
So do we need to add a 5.71 for something larger than a small RV park?
Personally, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because these are temporary.
Yeah, that's the other distinguishing factor
Okay.
is that the others would be a
Gotcha.
permanent.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
And they would have to go through the health department's, 10 plus. And then.
Unless we're gonna allow something like a 30 or a 40
That's
or 50.
kind of what I'm
It's
asking.
a temporary.
Yeah.
Temporary would be, but like a permanent, I don't know if you want to eventually go down that road of regulating an RV park or a campground.
I think as needed, if we had to address that.
They would have to get a rezoning to do it. So it would come before you as a rezoning first, and then it would come in as a development plan for that use. And at that time, they're gonna have to meet all of the health department's requirements for connections and not, it just seems like a big hurdle to go through to get that permission, but maybe the money's here to do it.
I mean, that was kind of Dana's idea, or like we had like 200 spots in a giant RV park to do this, and instead of having it scattered all over the county.
This has kind of come up at the rise because of the solar project and how many construction jobs we're gonna have. It's gonna be significant. We need to build pads there for temporary trailers and, but what do? I think essentially what we're saying is we can rezone that. Yeah. It's at 30 spots, but it doesn't fit in our temporary.
What's it?
Subject to the health code anyways.
Yeah,
What's the rise zone currently has? Industrial.
depends on which part.
Yeah.
I-1, commercial.
As an I-1 or I-2, you could come in and ask for a variance from this development standard limiting you to 9 and go to a larger number. And the BZA can have the power to decide yes or no, as well as what other conditions they put on. So you do have that path, and anyone has that path, honestly. So if somebody wants to go to 10 or 50, they can ask for a variance, not just the approval of it, because that's one step, special exception, but the second is a development standards variance, which could go higher.
You're saying a variance even on the temporary?
Yes,
Okay.
you can do that. And again, it just has to make really good sense to the BZA that, you know, that whatever surrounding it makes sense, and how is it going to get served, and is the infrastructure there to support it, all of that. But yeah, it can be done.
The property definition that we were talking about earlier, do we want to add that to qualification, the section there? Do we want to specify in that about the parcel versus property versus single owner versus?
There's pros and cons to both. As Brandon pointed out, is that somebody has multiple parcels and they want to utilize each one to make revenue, that you make a case for that. But if they're doing it to circumvent having to become a official RV park under the state health department rules, then, you know, what are they subverting that you may want to apply to that development?
Presuming that could get caught in the
Right.
whole process of applying for the permit. It's just
Right.
like, hey, obviously we know what you're doing here. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they'll have to do 3 separate systems for 3 separate parcels. Again, it may be better for them to rezone or to get a special exception to go run. So personally, I think that considering them parcels used in combination, so if they're just ground that's being farmed, to me that's not used in combination. To me, it takes having a primary residence there. They've got 2 parcels that they are using as their primary residence. It's going to solve the problem of, can they have 1 or 2 and be a residential system locally approved, or can they just have 1? It's not necessarily the best for vacant land. That makes sense. When I think of land being used in combination, it usually is anchored by something that's there, primary residence. So maybe that's a good split. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I don't think it necessarily needs to be added. It can be something adjudicated in the process. Can they apply?
Great, thanks, Fred.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
I do want to just encourage you to open up a public hearing. I think that's part of this, so.
That's next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Open public hearing.
Thank you.
You need to-
Huh?
you need to open public.
Oh, for here, you mean?
Yes, right now.
Oh, sorry, caught me off guard. I thought you meant we're gonna have a public hearing. I said, where
Yeah,
at?
we are.
Right here, right
I thought
now.
we was having one here, but
No, we
you
just
made
got-
it sound like
We just
we're,
got all the facts. Now we're
Right.
ready for that.
Do you need to
Okay.
review the rules first?
well,
Okay, I'm joking. Joking.
I got that.
all right, we're open it for public hearing. Anybody got any questions at this time? Don't everybody speak at once. We've got plenty of people, plenty of time. Come up and speak as much as you want.
You ain't not in hearing about it?
I'm still looking. The guy in the back, he won't raise his head up. Oh, okay, he's good, okay. And seeing none and hearing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd second that motion.
Who firsted?
You did.
Well, somebody else first.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Public hearing is closed.
Discussion?
Yeah, any discussion on anything from the board? Pretty
I
well.
have nothing, Larry.
I was gonna say, I don't have nothing left now, I've got all my answers.
Pretty much explained it all.
Mm-hmm. What about our council, man? Do you have anything?
Anything to add, Ron? No?
No.
Okay.
I forgot other Ron wasn't here.
Oh,
I
sorry.
kind of glanced out with, oh,
The only Ron.
really Ron today.
That's right. Okay. Well, we want to pass this on. How do we do this? I mean, where do we go from here?
We'd make a favorable recommendation.
Favorable to-
the commissioners.
To the commissioners, yes, yes.
With this one correction of 9,
Well, yeah,
from 10 to 9.
Right,
yeah, number 4 and B, or B4.
yeah, people.
So
I so moved.
make a motion with the edit, second it, and then recommendation forwarded to.
Very good. Motion by Joe,
The second motion.
second by Brandon. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Judy has something she would like to talk about under old business.
Oh, okay, sure, Judy. Knock yourself out.
Yes, please.
I need to do statement of everything.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Judy Palenzi, Perrysville, Indiana. I recently attended the agricultural land use and zoning school. It was March 5th. There was 5 different speakers, some attorneys, some from Indiana Farm Bureau, who had sponsored the workshop. And I just jotted down a few comments that I thought would be applicable to you as well as to PCA. And I'm hoping I'm correct on the information that I thought I heard, and if not, I'm sure you'll know if I'm not correct. One of the pieces of information was that there's going to be a push for small reactors, which is moving coal to nuclear conversion. It's anything over 500 megawatts. And there are currently 8 to 10 sites in Indiana that are being considered. Where those actual sites are was not discussed, but that is the latest technology movement, and that we should be prepared to hear that pretty soon. There was also a comment about eminent domain. This was by Ellen Townsend, who is an attorney for Boyce McKinney and Evans. And he said that generally landowners are protected from condemnation of their property and that there are state rules and regulations in place. I thought it was interesting, though, he said, except for there was a private project for a carbon sequestration well that is not covered by by the state rules and regulations. I just thought that it was interesting that he mentioned that, and we are all aware of where that is.
Yes.
He did not mention where it was, but I thought that was interesting. He said, they also said that the need for technology is not going away, and that the key for local entities is to develop land use in a smart way, so that our rules and regulations just be smart about it, because the state wants data centers. The state wants some of the larger enterprises to come in because it's investment in the state. And it's, kind of what federal government and state governments are looking at now. So they are coming. So just be wise in our decision making, and that will keep us safe. It was also mentioned that in December of 2025, there was a federal law that reformed solar permitting, and that at this point, Michigan and Illinois, which were the closest entities to us, have agreed with the federal law, And that's pulling all local bans and sending it to a state board for development of energy type projects, particularly solar projects. So he said at this point it was said that at this point Indiana was not considering that or had not considered that in their legislation, but that Michigan and Illinois. Comment was that, again, we just need responsible local zoning, and that the conditions should be for responsible development, rather than saying you can't do, here's what you can do if you follow the requirement. He said that way you're less likely to have any legal entities against you if you put down permitting that makes sense. And he said you can, again, the comment was you can go pretty far with this, but it has to be reasonable in what you're asking the developers to do. Also mentioned that conditions for temporary moratoriums have to meet current zoning amendments as they are in your county, and that you have to follow proper procedures of what those moratoriums really mean and what the county regulations really mean. That you can't just put it into practice forever. There has to be that it has to be a temporary, and that there has to be an intent of what you want to do with that moratorium.
We have one in place right now, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, when's it expire?
Mm-hmm.
It said with current county ordinances, technology will always outpace your local procedures, because locally you're much more transparent and you take the time to look at it carefully and invite the public, as compared to technology. And the larger entities have numerous attorneys and precedent that they have followed or tried to follow and pushing through what they want to push through. So it's, again, our procedures are just more transparent and take a longer time. That's why they said if just look at what you're developing and make sure that it can extend for longer periods of time. There was some comment about saying, for example, that these should be electricity producing entities rather than defining that they're nuclear reactors or solar farms or whatever, just trying to encompass a bigger piece of it so that you don't have to keep revising your amendments, your zoning all the time. And finally, it just said that, again, be careful, because local determination cannot preempt state law. State law will always win if it comes to a lawsuit. So again, we always need to look at what precedent is for surrounding areas and what precedent might be in the state, and keep in mind what the state might be suggesting. And again, they just came back to make sure that your land use is reasonable and services the area that you are. Did talk about that it might be best to, and you had talked about this, to making only certain areas eligible for certain developments. That takes away that comment that I can do whatever I want with the property I own. If your overall plan says, no, these things can only be developed in these particular areas, then that takes out that I can do whatever I want with my land, he said. So anyway, that, just a little synopsis of, I think, and Brad, is that?
Yes, very good. I didn't hear anything that was incorrect.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. Interesting updates. Any other old business?
Nope.
You sure?
Are they moving to Gary?
Hammond.
Okay, hey, we're moving on to new business. Dun, 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 dun. New business, please.
I'd like to bring some up. So I was a little dismayed to hear through some people that I know in the area that Cayuga is bringing a cell tower apparently right next to the T-ball park in the Cayuga Park. We apparently have no jurisdiction over that. But we do have other sites that are part of our jurisdiction. And I was looking over the ordinance, and my suggestion to Penny, off the record and now part of the record, was that we take the Parks and Recreation zoning out of potential options for telecommunications facilities to prevent, again, what should be green spaces being utilized by cell towers, which I don't think is appropriate. So currently our, if I had it here. Currently we list A1, A2, PR, IS, I1, and I2 as potential zoning areas. My suggestion is to amend it to remove PR. Other counties have done this. It's not necessarily something that we would be unique in doing.
So that will be on the agenda for next month, because, I mean, he's bringing it up this month to
So-
talk about it.
Let me get this straight. You want to take power away from the park board?
No.
We have a park and recreation zoning district in the county.
Right, right.
And right now, as it's worded, it will allow the towers in a park and recreation area.
But that's public. That's, Cayuga Park is a public, but
That's not.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Okay.
I'm saying
parks.
that's what brought it to my attention. I mean,
Oh, okay,
As far
okay.
as I understand, we have 7 county park facilities where this could actually
Right.
be utilized.
Right.
So it's potential, according to the way that our UDO is written, that someone could approach us with, wanting to put a cell tower in one of the county park facilities, which I don't think they should be able to do that.
we don't have one already in St. Bernice or Blanford. I was thinking there was a cell tower,
I don't know if that's.
and maybe it's right next to them.
So, again, not to suggest you shouldn't do that. The reason why it's in there is parks oftentimes have water towers and other facilities
Yeah.
there. And I don't disagree with Brandon in that right next to the t-ball or ball field of any type probably is not the best location. But communities are using that as a cash, revenue source for their parks.
Mhm.
And some want that to happen. But what I'm thinking is a middle ground possibly of having any telecommunication facilities either have to be on an already existing water tower that's in that park, and or they have to be a setback from residences, ball fields, you name it, so that if it's a big park, some of your parks are just trails, if I remember right, the rail trail, or that
Yeah.
could be a spot where it's not gonna hurt anything, but it could benefit the funding of and maintaining of that rail trail facility, if it's done well. So that's just it, is maybe it becomes a special exception in Parks and Recreation, and PZA gets to review it and put in some separation requirements or conditions, whatever it may be. So it's not a hard no, it's more of a do it, it has to be done right.
Right.
Well, but okay, I mean, to your point, yeah, we could modify it, but I don't, again, upon further review, and especially with this Cayuga thing in the back of my mind, if we take PR out, it's not like we're saying you can't, it's just saying, kind of like Judy was saying, we're not going to limit it to these areas, we're going to preserve our parks. Which I think is something, I mean, like, I know RJ Donovan would be entirely in favor of that because he has a preservationist mindset. I don't really see if we have industrial or agricultural areas. The last cell tower I think that was brought before us was in an agricultural area.
Mm-hmm.
So with those areas being abundantly available throughout the county, I don't see why we need to include Parks and Recreation as a potential area for these cell towers. So.
And again, I'm not going against you, I'm just trying to explain that in an industrial park or in an agricultural areas, abundance for sure. It's the difference between a municipality capturing the revenue from it or not capturing.
Right.
That's the only reason communities are wanting them or liking them in part revenue stream.
Right.
Agreed, and that became very abundant with people that started looking into what was going on at Cayuga.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And again, I'm not defending, I'm just trying to give background as to why communities are.
the other thing I might propose putting on new business is
Hold on just a second, Ryan.
okay. Go.
I just want to bring up that currently under Parks and Rec, we allow meteorological towers and small wind turbine systems.
Read the definition.
I gotta go back to the definitions.
They're
but-
small.
They're
They're very small,
It's-
but,
right, it's
but a
almost-
Met tower would have some similarities to a cell phone tower.
I don't think they're that tall.
Yeah.
height, but also, I mean, again, I'm one of the, tinfoil hat people that think that EMFs are not safe necessarily. There's no FCC real proof that EMFs, what's coming out of your cell phone, is coming out of those towers, is safe for you. All the evidence, so-called, is based off of like thermal studies from the 1980s. So I've investigated that, and I certainly object to having that anywhere near children. But again, it's just the general sense that I don't think we should have these in park and recreation areas, which should be green places that are set aside for nature, not, adorned with ugly cell towers. Furthering the point though, our UDO does limit cell towers to 100 feet. That's for height. I'm looking at it correctly, which I think is a little restrictive if you look across the state as far as what other restrictions are there. So what my concern might be is if we're limiting it to 100 feet, I mean, we're a pretty flat county, but if we're limiting it to 100 feet, we might be driving telecommunications companies to be looking at municipalities as an option because of the height that they
They
might.
can get a variance for the height, and that's what we've done in the past.
Okay.
Is it
For almost
really-
every-
Is it 100 feet? I thought it was not 199.
I don't have
200
my
is where you have to start putting strobes
lights
on
and
the top.
Lights on top of them,
I
right.
thought we were dialed in right below that.
A telecommunication, it's 5.68. A telecommunication tower should not exceed 100 feet in height. So that's a little restrictive. Again, if that's, I don't know if that's driving, people towards looking at towns where they're less restrictive.
I was gonna say the last ones that,
Well over that.
Yeah, they were well over that.
Well,
We just-
36, they did a variance, a height
Yeah.
variance.
Somebody
Yeah,
said
special
200 for the Cayuga build. I don't know if that was just a rumor, but I mean, if that's, I don't know if that's something else we should potentially revise to be more suited and more suitable to what's generally accepted, or if that's just something we want to leave and give a variance to. But that was something else.
There has in the past, PCA has handled, I've been on before 5, Penny? Under half a dozen variances to extend that 100, and there's been no issue or concern, and telecommunications people are aware of that. They've come forward pretty freely with that.
Okay. And again, it's just, when I was reading through it, that just struck me. I was like, well, I mean, most
The one
towers that I
John
know of
Graves
are at
is
least 150.
175 feet or something, I believe.
Right, he did a variance.
Yeah, we had to get a variance for John, yeah.
We did for John, we did for 36.
36,
We did for
Dana.
Citizens.
And when Bob
71.
Spence did one, wasn't there?
Mhm.
Marty had one too. Short Ridge Marty didn't he?
Yeah.
Right.
That was before.
All the footage on it, guys.
200 feet's usually where they're done.
That's kind of what I was saying too, 150 to 200. So again, I don't know if that matters whatsoever, if we're just going to give variances, regardless. But
Oh, I see what you're saying, Brandon, yeah, because they may look at this, say, hey, we'll go to the park department. We can get by with more there. I don't know if that's the reason up at Cayuga or not. I still ain't quite figured that one all out, because it looks to me like that's not the highest point in town. When you can go right across the railroad tracks and go up a little ways. And I'm thinking, man,
yeah, so I'm not here to litigate the Cayuga thing, but I do. Like I said, that was something I just saw in passing.
So
I think more importantly, the Parks and Recreation zoning.
So in April,
Why
do
did
we
they
want
tear
to
the one
look,
down now by rights? Maybe.
the run by rights is down, it's gone.
Yeah, why did
yeah, why did that go down?
It's been down for about a year or two.
A while, yes.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Cell tower, just north of Wright's Ice Cream.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the one you can see on Facebook, everybody's complaining about, that it isn't working anymore. And it hasn't for a couple of years.
It's gone.
Gone,
Gone.
gone. But why'd they take it down?
I
Nobody
do not
knows.
know.
I don't know.
The phones don't work good through there anyhow.
Structurally unsound, who knows?
Well, that's exactly why they're building another one, because, yeah, they don't, there's areas through there was pretty dead.
So in April, do we wanna look, have it on the agenda about removing parks and recs, or under parks, or yes?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And the mezzanette towers, the weather towers that Purdue is involved with around the state, and they're normally about 30 to 33 feet tall
That's it?
for
Yeah,
the,
but-
for the mezzanette towers.
That's a lot more
Met
modest.
towers for the wind turbine guys, though, are hundreds of feet tall. Put those up.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be higher than that for the weather.
So that'll be on the agenda for April under new business.
Mhm.
Well, I guess it'll be back under old business, but it will be on the agenda to be discussed.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't have any other new business.
I wish there was some, we could just stay here and talk all night, but I don't.
So here's the claims, I've only had one.
Well,
And,
sorry, can I slip something in real quick?
no,
Oh,
It was just mentioned, at least in passing moratoriums by Judy, are the moratorium against sequestration non-inclusive of favored people? That's expiring in June? April?
Wow.
Okay, I thought it was, I said
it's
April.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's coming up
Do you
next month.
want to do something about that?
We should have.
That's an April project.
Because what was the research that we were gonna be doing?
I think it involved Brad doing all the work for us, I thought.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I'd like to do it, we can get it funded.
There you go.
There you go, yep.
Show me the money.
Council.
Now, we're gonna have plenty of money, Brad. We got solar panels going in everywhere. So, sorry.
So I was all excited.
I move we pass the claims as
Oh,
presented.
yes, yes.
Well, hold on, but I'm serious about the moratorium. Like, do we want to discuss that as a group? Do we want to send something to the commissioners? Do we want to do anything about the moratorium that we helped to draft that's expiring next month?
Do we address it next month?
I'd say we put it on our agenda next month.
Can we put it on the agenda for next month?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Pat. I will cease.
And then we'll send it to the commissioners.
I second the approval of claims.
Okay.
Hold on, I've lost my place.
Who made the motion? I'm
Joe,
sorry.
Joe, and the second by Brandon. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay,
So,
office report,
I was
please.
so excited that January started great and February was going strong. I said, do we have more permits than we've had? And I haven't gotten a permit until today. It is not on this report, but it is for a new house, so that is a plus.
Good.
There we go.
Clinton
Where?
Township. And the only bill we've had is a Tribune Star to advertise for the public hearing for the temporary structure.
That's now, or that happened.
That we just completed.
We paid $30 for 30 seconds.
Hey, it's, yes.
Our rules say what they say. I didn't eliminate that person.
At the end of the office report.
Are you sure?
And I'll do better.
I just
Get
wanted,
more permits for next month, promise.
okay, just wanted to
That's a
double
you
check.
thing.
Okay, moving on to adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion by Brandon,
Second.
second by Eddie. Everybody?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We are out of here.
Thank you.
Hold on.